Get back up, please.
You want to go to ambulance district?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we enter into the Board of Ambulance at this time.
Ryan?
Do we go into the Board of Ambulance?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we go into the Board of
Oh,
Ambulance.
we have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I was already there.
There we go.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ryan O'Hearn, Assistant Chief of Operations for the Ambulance District and the Fire Department. And this is Christy Pincock, our Office Manager, and she oversees all of our billing processes. And we're here today to present a change to our collections agency to you guys.
Okay.
Good morning. The packet before you does have several pieces of information in there. What we are seeking to do is move from MRS, Medical Recovery Services, who is our current collection agency, over to CBP affiliated services. They are offering us two products. The first product they're offering is a pre-collect service, which would have no fees for 30 days, in which the account would go to collection. Any attempts to collect would not have any fees associated to the district or to the patient that was turned to collections, and all monies recovered would be submitted to the ambulance district. The second one, at 30 days, it would become a traditional collection services, but they are presenting and utilizing the public agency provision of the Idaho Code, which allows the fee for public agencies to be added on to the amount that was turned by the district. And so at that point, they would add a 30% fee that they would be collecting. They would collect the 100% that we turned and provide that to the district of any funds they are able to collect, I should say. And then they would collect their fee after the district has received theirs. My understanding is that CBP currently does provide services for the Bannock County court system. Their contract does seem to be a little bit different than what they're offering us currently, but that is one of the reasons the company reached out to us to see if the district wanted to take on them as a collection agency and utilizing the public agency provision.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. Brian, that just raises an interesting question on procurement bid limits because of professional services solicited because they already handle our district courts. Could that possibly trigger a RFP? Because if this company already does, what's the total amount that this contract's worth to them from the ambulance district? And if they already have a contract that's worth to the county, then did we just create?
Will we exceed $50,000 a year with this company?
Yeah.
We do turn in excess of $50,000
In their fees.
for their fees that they collect.
Yeah.
Well, for fiscal year 21, we turned 160,000, so that fee would be 30% of.
So that'd be 30,000
that.
to 45,000.
So, and that's the whole thing. I'm okay with like going to something like this, but I just get nervous because if we already have a contract with the company to provide a service for us in the county, and then we give them another contract on top of that, does that then create a over the bid limit, or is there a legal issue that way that does it not because it's?
Yeah, we'd have to analyze each contract separately, but I mean that could be a thing. That's something we'd have to look into a little bit more.
Could you get Shanda up there real quick?
Shanda, do you have any thoughts on this?
Right, that's not something I've researched before, but potentially there is a problem, so I could work with Brian and look into that.
Because like I said, I'm all in favor. If this is where we want to go, we just want to make sure that we don't have any of that.
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
I don't like it. I don't like the 30%, but it's a payday loan type deal to me that a person's already having problem, and so let's charge them 30% more. I mean, that bothers me, but.
And as I read through it this morning, I kind of had some heartburn over that as well. So, and maybe if we do an RFP, or it does go to a bid situation, we can negotiate that down a little bit.
So there are other options as well that they did present to us, and that's one of the reasons we're before you today, is to find out whether you do have that heartburn against using the public agency. We currently are not using that with our other collection agency, and we are paying a 30% amount of anything collected to MRS. CBP has also informally offered a better percentage pay. So that may be something that we do want to go out and seek best offers from the collection agencies. And I think what we need is the guidance of whether we're looking to utilize public agency and add the fee on, or go with the best fee we can get to the district.
So I'll clear. I like the having somebody else do it, because then it doesn't mean that we're having to pay somebody in the government to have to do it. But Ernie's right. I mean, the fees is, we want to make sure it's not extravagant. I mean, we're not trying to be fee chasers after the ambulance. But, that's the big thing is most of these, especially if you're indigent, we would end up paying for it anyway. The other thing too is if they're Medicaid, I know that was a big issue, is Medicaid, Medicare billing for ambulances, and we did get that in place, correct?
Yeah, we do
Yes.
bill for all insurances, and we would still bill for any insurances. We internally try and ensure that we're getting all of that information from the patient to our best of our ability, that we can contact patients, and that, and we're doing a really good job pre-collecting before we're sending accounts to collections. So.
Well, and I think that's as part of the other discussion, Mr. Chairman, is we do a lot of fee waivers for ambulances, for community events and all that other stuff. To tell you the truth, kind of like what Ernie's saying is there's some of these that if we're just turning them into collections and we're beating the dead horse, why are we doing that if just not bringing it into as a fee waiver for an ambulance? If somebody's truly indigent and there's truly we waived.
We're gonna see it one way or the other.
Yeah, so why wouldn't we just look at it and say, if there's somebody that legitimately, hey, yeah, you need to go to collections because they had the bill and they just don't want to pay the bill or whatever, and then you have the ones that they're never going to pay the bill, why are we going after it like that? And those are the ones that I think that you put together and say, hey, at the end,
Well, there's a group of people in the county north of us that have made a profession out of charging people in these types of situations. And,
Yes.
And it bothers me.
yes, some people live in Idaho Falls, and yes, see their attorneys here every day. But yes, it's for those that are truly, if you're truly indigent, you're truly to the point where you have no funds and there's no means, I don't know why
Why we chase it?
why we chase it then. Because I'm sure just in the bookkeeping side of things, the hassle and the headache, then it's the cost benefit of staff and what we're going through. Is that putting more burden on you guys to try and coordinate with the agencies and do that? Or do we just say, hey, this is where we're at. If we can't collect at this point, then they get brought back and we just have a quarterly review and I don't know.
So let's go through some different avenues and see what our options are. And we'll work with it.
Would you like us to come back and present the other option with this agency for the traditional collection where it doesn't get added on top with the public agency exemption? And so you can compare the two.
Let's talk with Brian and Shanda and see what numbers we're at and if we do need to go out for bid.
Yeah.
We need to know them things.
Do you
So
know,
if you're not aware, Shanda's a procurement officer for us.
Yeah.
So Shanda can help you with the bid process.
Yeah.
That's kind of the avenue.
Christie, do you see what we spend with the current company, the MRS? Do you see that?
Do you post that through separate?
It's on
Is
the
it the
credit
collection
report
line?
as the collections,
Okay.
but
We can get that.
very
Yeah, I can get that.
itemized.
Okay.
But I can provide that to you. I can run a summary for the year.
Let's see what we have there, and then we'll come back and have, but we'd like to look at all the options that are
Chris,
available.
is the
Well,
September report?
and again,
Or is it just monthly?
It needs to be, make sense for the public, but for you guys, for everybody, because like I say, you don't want to make it to where it's cumbersome. That's why when the government tries and does it a lot of times, it gets, we're going to have to hire somebody else, but we go to public.
But then are we just passing that burden and something that's never going to occur, and that's why we always have, because there's always fees that I see in the county. It's like assigning fees to criminals that are going to jail for the next 30 years. You know,
Well, I just appreciate you looking at it since it hasn't been looked at since 2013.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
yes, thank you.
We were approached by MRS to update the contract, and we thought that it would be a good time to entertain and make sure that we were
Yes.
doing our due diligence.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
And then, yeah, I think it'd probably be good to just, if we could get back on this
Get that
next
and
Thursday, because it's
reschedule.
probably a timely issue with you
I
guys.
think we have a 90-day opt-out clause with MRS, but they're not as I understand, a sole source, so we would be able to have some transitional period, but we'll work with Shanda to understand those requirements.
And our legal team. Contracts, they're involved.
Excellent.
Cool.
Also just wanted to pass on some information. I know we've talked to you about the GEMT legislation, and that did pass the Senate last week and has gone to the Health and Welfare Committee over on the House side.
Which
So
bill is that?
that's Senate 1283,
And
and that deals with the ground emergency transport legislation and the Medicaid reimbursement program.
okay,
For the uncollected amounts, and so that could be quite beneficial to the district, so.
okay. So 1280. Let me.
Yeah, Senate
Okay.
1283.
I got it. I'll just write a note to myself. Oh, there we go.
So,
I'll add it to my list of things to work on up there.
All right.
thanks
Thank
for your
Thank you
time
very
today.
much.
Thank you.
See if it's carrying it.
Motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we exit the Board of Ambulance.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Mileage. Was we gonna have the employee here?
No, we would.
I invited her.
Okay, we'll just hold off on that one for a minute then. Shanda.
Good morning, Commissioners. Shanda Crystal, Purchasing and Economic Analyst. I have four items for the board today. The county departments have been busy the last couple of weeks getting things done, so there's quite a few projects before you today. The first one is reviewing and potential approval of the request for qualifications for architectural services to re-roof the detention center. If you had any questions on it, this is the first step of the process of re-roofing the detention center. We do have to do it based solely on qualifications, based on the budget of the current project. We anticipate anywhere between $75,000 to $90,000 for these fees to come back at. But this one is based solely on qualifications of like projects. They will go out to the three, once approved, it'll go out to the three architectural firms here in Bannock County and posted on our website as well for anybody that's interested to see and review and respond to. And has been reviewed and prepared for in conjunction with Hal Jensen at the Planning and Zoning Office.
Okay.
As requested a couple of weeks ago, there was a request to have a signature page for these bids as they go out. That is the last page on the form. The one that you have before you has draft written across it, but if approved, I do have one that does not say draft, if the board is prepared to sign that now.
Okay.
Good.
I'm good with it.
There you go. So, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the RFQ for architectural services and authorize signature as presented.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
That should go out to those architectural firms and be posted on the website later this afternoon. The second item I have before the board is to review and potential approval of an informal public works contract out of the sheriff's office to replace 2 HVAC units out there that are aging. Very similar to the last informal public works that we did. Levi has submitted some names of potential contractors. I do have 4 of them that we will reach out to and ask if they're interested in bidding, as well as posting on our website as well for anybody to look and review and to submit bids if they qualify. And again, the signature page has been added to the last page, if the board has any questions on that one.
Shannon, just real quick,
Yes.
could you explain the difference between the architectural bid that we're doing and this informal bid, just real quick, high level?
Right? So the qualification we're looking for, right, no fees are attached to that. We're simply looking to, if a firm is qualified, done similar projects, we ask for references back from them to be able to pick the best firm that we have. The second step of that stage is to then move forward with contract negotiation if we're able to negotiate a contract. If not, then we move on to the next most qualified vendor. The differences in this one is we are asking for dollar amounts bids attached to. They will look at the project, they'll come out, we'll do a pre-proposal, they'll look and review to see what we have going on, and then they'll actually submit a cost for their services to replace those HVAC units. So where the first one we're looking at, are you qualified to do the work? This one, the informal informal public works construction, we are looking at, you do have to meet the bar. You can't just be working out of your garage and, oh, I've seen an HVAC unit before, right? You do have to be qualified to do the work, but once you meet that bar, we are looking for low bid at that point.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the informal public works construction request for the detention center HVAC.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimous.
The third item I have before the board is we have a few recommendations to award the medical bay renovation that was opened last Tuesday. As you are aware and was read into record, option number one for a general contractor, excuse me, we received no bids for that one, so then we'll move forward on awarding the rest of the options 2 through 6 on that one. Options 2, tile, and options 3, ceiling, we would like to keep under further review as the Levi is still looking at the specifications that were turned in before we recommend bids to the board on those two. But option 4, the painting services, we received one bid from Ed's painting contractor. Levi has reviewed and is confident that he will be able to do the work as described and would like to recommend awarding option 4, painting, to Ed's painting contractor.
And I'd like to go ahead and do the motion on each phase so that we separate them out, so.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve an award bid on option 4 to Ed's Painting for the indicated amount as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously.
Option 5 then is cabinets and countertops. We received one bid from Reese Custom Cabinetry. Levi has reviewed that bid and is confident that he'd be able to do the work as described. We would recommend that we award option 5, cabinets and countertops, to Reese Custom Cabinets for $21,280.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the bid for Reese's cabinets and countertops as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
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 And for option 6, electrical, we did receive 2 bids. As Levi looked and reviewed both bids, he did feel that the low bidder, Razor Electric LLC, would be able to submit the work as per, complete the work as submitted. And we would like to recommend awarding that bid to Razor Electric for $2,950.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we award the bid to Razor Electric for the indicated amount of $2,950.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The other phases, how long are you thinking that it'll be?
So Levi has contacted all of the proposed providers and have asked for additional information to clarify some items before we recommend a bid. He's hoping to have that back before the board next week. This is a project, right, that they've been ready to get going. They finished up their other 2 and are ready to get on to the next thing on their docket. So this will allow those 3 contractors to go ahead and order supplies and things like that and start the timing of the project, as all 5 disciplines are going to have to work closely as far as tear down and rebuild, and they're going to have to coordinate their schedules. So
And then Levi will just oversee the whole project?
Yes, yep. Alrighty. Then moving on to item number 4 is the weekly procurement update. Again, your departments have been busy. I have 3 new additions from the Road and Bridge Department. The first one you'll see on your list is road hot mix. That there were gathering specifications for, and most likely will piggyback off a current bid. We are just looking and reviewing to make sure that we do piggyback off the lowest bid that will meet our needs on that one. The second one for road and bridge is road oils, and that one has been submitted as a piggyback for the commissioners to review next Tuesday. So that one's moving right along. And that third one from road and bridge for the magnesium chloride has been requested to piggyback off a bid as well, and that's for the board to review and approve on Tuesday as well. The gel HVAC unit, it just got on my list, but has also just been approved. So that one will be posted this afternoon and move forward, as well as the gel architecture was just approved today. The seasonal event center concessions will be due on Monday, so that will be reviewed and come before the board for awarding here in the next couple weeks to get that project continued to move forward. And we've at least awarded a little over half of the medical bay right now, and do propose that the rest of it will be next week. The last one is the architectural services on the Historical Museum. We have another meeting with Booth Architecture tomorrow to finalize some needs for the lighting. Once we close in those skylights in there, that will adjust the amount of daylight that was coming in, so we're going to need to add some lights in there. But once we get that detail worked out, he anticipates it being done in the next couple weeks, and we'll be able to move forward on the contracting end of that and issue an addendum on there. That was a lot, but if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to.
Well, Kyle's here. Are you looking at price increases on your hot mix, your oils? Or what's it looking like out there?
Our oils are average around $200 a ton increase. And they're normally like, so that's almost a 50%.
Well, just watch what oil's gonna do here in the next, it's gonna get worse.
Are we gonna need to have a work session to talk about gas and oil for you this summer in your budget?
Yes, for the gasoline and diesel is the same situation. A lot of our departments we've visited with
Just open our own
biodiesel and stuff, and some of them, they're not too bad, some are in need of some looking at.
I guess
Gas prices on everything are up, so
What
we're
am I-
looking, if we've kind of budgeted for roads, just for roads itself,
Electric
to do the same amount of miles as we did last year. We almost need $600,000 more dollars just to do the same amount.
You're gonna get electric trucks powered by the landfill here in a little bit if it keeps up.
Plug them in, we'll take them up there and plug them in.
So what about the agreement we had with the city of Income? That's what I was kind of wondering.
I'll get with them. We haven't got our hot mix price yet. As soon as we have that, then I will get with the mayor of Income and see if that still fits into their budget.
Okay.
Because our agreement was whatever the price was, because we had no idea what it was gonna be.
And that's just what kind of come to my mind as we start talking about
I think
that.
we'll still be good on that front.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anything else for Shanda? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Buddy,
Buddy and friends.
Buddy and friends.
Buddy and friends.
Wes, come on up.
Wes? Kyle, come on up. All right, talking about grants, fuel reduction grants.
So, as of last Friday, I was asked to help assist in the 2022 hazard fuel reduction grant projects. In these projects, they consist of thinning juniper trees for help to conserve the water table as well as lessen the threat of catastrophic wildfire. There's several different methods they're using currently to do this process, and it's a slash and burn, lop and scatter, and masticate the areas with heavy equipment. So the two projects that you guys have in front of you are the Smith Gulch and Cottonwood phase. So the last couple days, with the help of other county employees as well as CCOG and the Forest Service, we were able to get the documentation needed to move on to the next phase. As for the future projects we have trying to go forward with is the Big Onion, Yago, and then the Marsh Creek grazing area. And that's where we're at this far.
Okay. Have you had a chance to look these contracts over?
Yeah, they were sent to me this morning, but I had a chance to review them.
Do you have any concerns?
I don't.
Okay.
So
There's-
these are just kind of the application forms to go to IDL, the
Yeah.
Department of Land, to proceed with going on. We still will have an MOU agreement with them and all that, and that's gonna be the detailed, more what we have to do kind of thing.
So then when we do that and we're awarded the grant, then we have to issue the RFP for the work to be done.
Technically, we've been awarded the grant, haven't we?
That's how I understand it.
I mean, we have the grant monies, it's assigned, and then we have to, once we finish the formal MOU that we're gonna do this, then we have to issue the RFP to the contractor that would then go in and perform this.
We'd have to go out to bid for
Yeah,
construction.
RFP,
Yes.
RFQ.
So Wes, do you know where we're at in the process, or what's?
Yes, we've already been awarded the contract for the grant. The documentation that we have before us right now is what's needed for the MOU, for the working agreement between the Idaho Department of Lands and Bannock County. These forms aren't for a grant, it's for the MOU
Okay.
specifically. And then once we get the MOU, then we can move forward for requests for proposals or qualifications, whatever is deemed necessary.
Okay. There's been a little bit of confusion as to who's in charge of this up to this point in time. And so, Wes, this falls under your purview, and I need you to step up and push this through and get it across the finish line. And so Buddy was here today because he's concerned about the amount of work that is involved, and I realize we're kind of building an airplane while we're in the middle of flight. But
We're trying to land it while we're building it still.
I think we're taking off with the wings partially attached is where we're at.
Yeah, that was one of my concerns was, you know, we had the couple projects, we might have 3 this year, so that just starts to build up more for like who's going to be the what's the name for project manager, and what all that would entail and what other sources we could use if need be, kind of things like that.
So we should be writing this in, when we write our RFP, we're gonna write that basically the only thing the project manager is going to do is you're verifying pre-work and post-work. Everything else in the job site, whether it's safety considerations, how they're doing that, whatever, that's the requirement of the contractor to provide. Everything else is, it should be a, we are getting ready to proceed, we have a pre-picture, you know, areas, location, understanding what's going on, it should not take all that long, and then when they're, hey, we're done, maybe some spot checking, but we're done and we're ready to get paid, then there's that inspection to make sure that work is performed as per indicated in the guidelines. And everything else on site, that is why we're hiring the contractor to do that. We should have nothing, I mean, so really there shouldn't be a lot of time, I mean, there's time involved, don't get me wrong, but it's not like you're gonna be sitting up there every single day directing traffic or telling them what to do or whatever. It's a subcontractor, they have the job, all you're doing is you are the verification of the county to make sure that the project work is done as presented, that's it.
So once we submit this, what's our next step?
Once I get these forms I can submit them to Idaho Department of Lands directly to Tyre. He'll send back the MOU, or we can modify and tweak them as necessary. Once we get that MOU, then we can move forward on the other criteria. We've already got the tasks identified for each one of the positions specific associated with the scope of this project, so that's already done. So the things that Carol was discussing has already been identified. We've got that laid out through SCOG. So we've got a lot of the background work already in there. Part of that MOU, which is a very lengthy MOU, because I looked at the one that IDL and Pocatello has in place, and it breaks down a lot of the different definitions in the scope, in which I think Brian will probably have to review that in the future to see if we need to modify some of those as well.
Can you put us together a meeting maybe next week so we can bring all the players, CCOG, Buddy, and everybody else, and Nancy, or whoever else is going to be involved in tracking this, and so we can actually go through and identify the players and make sure everybody's on the same page?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we initiated yesterday, because based upon Tyre's request to have all communications and coordinations go through me, as compared to 9 other different individuals, because it was overwhelming him. So we put together this working group at the last minute, in which we completed these tasks and the forms in about 2 hours' time.
Correct.
So, yeah, we can put those together, but it will be contingent upon when we get the information back from Tyre.
Okay.
The only exception I would request on that is that if Michelle needs to
Yes.
contact Tyre, that she not have to go through you, just simply because,
She's a bill keeper.
yeah,
I mean, she's just gonna,
she'll keep you in the loop, but we don't want to have to say, hey, can you ask this, so that then it like does the triangle.
And I think that's a meeting that Jeff's talking about next week is let's identify the players and roles and responsibilities.
Now we're also, while we're flying this airplane and trying to land or take off, whatever we're doing, we're also gonna draw it out how the next one is gonna go, so we have those answers taken care of, so we don't have that. Because I think that's the big thing, as I've heard, just kind of everything going around, is I think a lot of it is new project person, where we're going, who's doing what, how does this all work, the communication factor that needs to happen. Because like I said, I'm not anticipating you having a lot of time when you're out spraying and doing whatever, and they say, hey, we're done with this phase, come check it out.
Yeah, and that's where my concern was, is that at one point you hear, that's what we need to get straightened out, is one point you hear, oh, you gotta be there, and
No.
they're doing this,
No,
that.
no. And anybody else who's telling you that, just nod your head and say thank you. And
I wrote your name in to substitute for Buddy whenever he isn't available.
yeah, you're gonna be up there.
Hey, it's a nice little scenery.
But the main thing is I know everybody is gonna wanna tell you how to, when we write those RFPs or RFQs, when we actually write the scope of work, and which they have most of it, we will need to we're not gonna be up there telling them what to do. That's not how any of these projects works. I know some entities like to do that. We don't have enough manpower to do that, and that's what we're giving you the contract for. Because otherwise, if they're going to require us to be up there to tell them how to do it, why are we having them do it in the first place then?
And I want to recognize Kyle for stepping up and helping Buddy, as asked, as a leader, as a manager. That's commendable for what you've done. And again, I don't want you involved because you've got other things to do, but I appreciate you.
Say something nice right at the first, and then say get out.
But that's but what Jeff's saying though is 100% correct. Is that's where we are looking at this, is just to have this. I mean, you're the person that's going to be available out in the county driving around. I mean, you got a lot of stuff that you're doing anyway. But in those areas where you're probably going to be working, you're going to have coinciding operations. It's a little bit easier for you to pop over and see that, and you really want to have that check person that's checking and verifying is not necessarily the person that's writing and doing that. That's just that, it's a separation. You do it that way just to, open and transparent, making sure that there's a couple sets of eyes on it to say, no, we've done this, we've done our due diligence, everything's squared away and taken care of. But I'm with Jeff. I don't want Kyle involved with it unless he needs a fill-in. But I don't want you getting overwhelmed and having to deal with this. Yeah, I mean, it's
I
not.
was just going to whatever resource I could to get the.
No, you're good. You're good, man.
So there's only one thing, and there's a lot of blank spots on these pages. And I like it when it says left blank intentionally, or, you know, I hate signing my name and there's
Here, if you want me to fix that for you?
all kinds of.
I can just strike through there and just strike through there with an X.
Yeah.
I mean,
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, strike it.
When it comes forward and there's a lot of blank spots, I just don't like it. So,
Smith Gulch's application is incomplete. We don't have the shape files attached to that, but they are attached to Cottonwood. Is that right?
Yeah.
One of them has.
Cottonwood has
They
Yeah,
have
that-
the shape
Gulch.
files, they just aren't printable to put on the thing.
I have printouts of both
The,
projects.
the blank spaces
The map.
are if you were doing more than one
The map
project,
is-
you would put it
Yeah.
in each one.
We could
And
add
that's
that
not
too, yeah.
actually the document that you're signing, the only document that you sign is the certification. And then that, the certification has to be signed with option C.
Okay.
check mark.
Yeah, we have this one.
okay.
We could,
That's
I just put it all into one packet.
Makes Ernie feel better when.
that. As I'm going through here.
The other
Yeah.
section
Blank.
needs to be
No, blank.
completed is
We,
for the financial.
Charity,
What's
helped
that?
us fill some of that out.
The other
and
section
we
needs
can
to be
have her
completed
go in
is the
and put
financial. I think
dotted
there's
click
4
along
options
where
they
you
want to
submit
select.
if you would like.
so on your signature page,
Mm-hmm.
we need to mark option C in the 3 boxes below it.
Not the 3, the top box.
The 3
Well,
below.
it says
With what she said.
Option
We
C.
will, option C.
And this one has looked like this, I'm sure. I think the first one says, and we'll follow the,
That's the financial part you're talking about.
the top box.
Will you use methodology?
and pressed or check that apply.
What's that?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Kyle was correct.
I have no idea.
Did you? I can't hear that.
On both of them?
I must have missed it.
Yes, on both documents. Yes.
All right, well, we'll find out.
We'll find out in a minute.
You ready for motion then?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the project application for Department of Lands for the fire reduction proposals as presented.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, and then as soon as you have everything in there with the attachments, then I can send them off to Tyra.
Okay.
Perfect.
You just want these left in the packet, or do you want these?
I can take them.
Okay. Make sure you have the correct attachments. We're good. Okay.
Thank you.
Sweet.
All right, Scott.
We did say.
Hi.
What's up, Thomas?
Thomas, I don't understand that reference. Is that something to do with my mustache?
Yeah. Thomas Magnum.
Heck yeah, that's a great compliment right there.
Can I have a ride in your car?
Yes, you may.
Okay.
It's not the Ferrari.
It's not nearly as fancy.
didn't bring the Ferrari?
Not nearly as fancy. No. Scott Crowther, Events Director and Business Manager. We have a couple of fee waivers and a contract to, or actually 2 contracts to go over with you today. We'll start with 7C Productions, if that's okay. Jason, you might come up. Seven C Productions, and this is Jason Clemens, puts on a steer wrestling school for youth that are interested in becoming steer wrestlers, and apparently it's a pretty cool thing. He runs this about 4 different days in our indoor arena. And this last year, as we increased the fees on the indoor arena, he was not able to make adjustments to the cost to get it down to the kids or the people that are participating with it. And so we're requesting a fee reduction. The cost for the use of the indoor arena is about $1,800, and then that includes, and then we have the tractor
that is included, that comes with that. Last year, he paid $1,500. Is my request that we reduce the fees to $1,600.
To 16?
16 for this year.
So, in this, and I read through them all, but sometimes I get them crossed over. Stall rentals and
So
the
on this
RV
one
park
doesn't,
and-
this one doesn't have the stalls, or none of that stuff is included in that one. Are you
Okay,
looking at
that's
the contract or just this?
Stall rentals will all come back to the,
Yeah.
to the county.
So stall rentals come to us, any RVs that stay as part of that, which sometimes we get a couple people that travel from different parts of Idaho to come to these, so we do get some of that stuff that happens. So
RV
those,
motels.
yeah, those aren't included in this deal.
How many kids do you normally get?
Since
I
20?
cap it at 20.
Cap it, just,
Yeah, it's capped at 20.
don't matter
Where all do they come from?
Boise Valley, Utah, Wyoming, had some kids from Arizona, just kind of all over. So when they, very few of them are local, so when they come, they're renting hotels, they're eating in the restaurants. And granted, it's not a lot, right? But you got mom and dad, and, it's a little bit, and then like I say, all the stall rentals go back to the county, we don't collect any of that. It's not really a money maker for me, it's because by the time I buy hay for the cattle, feed the kids their lunches, and, because we provide all that.
I'm just impressed you have 20 kids that want to go wrestle steers, so.
I
wanna come watch.
We usually have to
Yeah.
turn a few away, so.
I'm okay with it, especially where you're not asking for RV or park or anything like that. There is some increase from last year. Just understand that, yep, those fees are going, and watch for it next year of what we're doing. Scott, if you're in support of this then, Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the contract as presented with 7C Productions for a total of $1,600.
we have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimous.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Lynette, Chet?
I do have to say, he did it the right way. He took his hat off when he came up to the table. And being an Army officer, that's one of the things that just drives me. Yeah, there you go. I saw him do that, and I'm like, yeah, there you go. He did, okay.
Okay, so Lynette and Chet are they're gonna talk about we'll start with the Idaho District 8 High School Rodeo. Last week when I came up, I mentioned that we had two local districts that use the indoor facility for their rodeos. It's about a 12-hour use from Friday night to Saturday. And I'm requesting the same deal that we gave the other district, which is $700. That is for the use of the indoor arena, the tractor, and then essentially we will room arena number 1 for them to warm up. And so the fee reduction would be the rental for arena number 1.
Mr. Chairman, so let me understand, we have two districts that share our county, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
somebody was saying for one district.
So what is your district? Who is it?
I'm in District 8.
Where is that?
And we have Bear Lake, Caribou, and Bannock County. We have Downey area.
Marsh Valley.
Marsh Valley.
Okay, so the other district
Yeah.
has the north end of the
Yeah, they have American Falls, Blackfoot.
Highland,
Yeah.
Hotel, okay.
I didn't realize it was Marsh Valley, so we'll definitely increase the fee.
I'm in Bear Lake.
That's
Very funny.
Marsh Valley joke.
Not appropriate.
Marsh Valley. Marsh Valley.
My wife went to Marsh Valley.
Okay.
Well,
We love Marsh Valley.
Yeah.
Let's see, they start playing at noon.
Yeah.
State championship.
That's right.
all right, and so this, it's the same,
Same.
okay.
As we give the other one. Now, we talked to the other ones about, the other district about helping out with some volunteer work, and we'd expect the same from these guys as well.
Okay.
And plain and simple, there's two rules. You help clean up, and if Scott and his staff ask you to do something or not to do something, you listen.
Absolutely.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move that we approve the usage contract presented by District 8 Rodeo.
Yes.
As presented.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Awesome. Now, the second one is one of my absolute favorite events, and that's the Idaho Junior Rodeo Association. So there's a lot of different rodeos that happen up here. This is the one that if you come up, you'll see a 4-year-old riding a horse, riding a pony around looking like a real cowboy. It's pretty awesome. So these guys have been coming to us for quite a while. They have a few days that they're looking to run events. We've moved them up to the grandstands for their events. I think it's a better place for them to hold their events. And then last year there was a couple of questions about the camping and dry camping, and so we have addressed that in this contract.
And that's a couple of things in this contract.
Yeah.
And line, or item 5, we talk about horse stalls.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a number? I mean, to me, that gives them access to all horse stalls. Just looking at the contract.
Yeah.
It just says
So
they
this,
have
on this one, I don't remember horse stalls being
exclusive access and use of the following facilities.
So
Horse stalls.
We'll strike the horse stalls, because horse stalls, we actually take the capital from horse stalls on these.
Okay, okay.
So
that-
this contract, we get horse stalls, we get RVs. Sorry,
Okay.
that's one thing we just need to, I must have missed that, I apologize.
Okay, I did.
So horse stalls
When it
get.
says exclusive rights, no, you can't do that. I'm sorry.
You just said magic words that Ernie gets a little irritated over.
So they'll have the grandstand area, and quite frankly, the infield of the grandstand area is where dry camping will happen for this event.
Okay, and that was the other.
Yeah, and so when we met, we kind
Highlight.
of averaged out how many people actually camp for these events, and then we applied our dry camping fee, and that's how we came up with an average dry camping fee for this contract. So
the camping fee is included.
yeah, for dry camping, yes.
In this contract.
Yep, it is.
Okay.
And so they'll be responsible for collecting any monies from people that dry camp. From our standpoint, the contract will fulfill that. So they'll have access to the grandstands for the days that they are going. And there's 2 weekends that they're going to be using it, and then the others are just Saturday rentals. And so there won't be dry camping associated with those days.
Okay.
Okay, and then last year, we had a conversation also about you leaving a trailer on the property all the time? Was that this group?
Yes, we did leave a trailer there. Just for the rodeo season. That little 12-foot.
Oh.
Yeah, let's not do that again. Let's not, we have too much stuff that's up there, and that's, I'll take Ernie's thunder on this one, is we have too many pieces of equipment that just get left, and when stuff gets left, it's gonna get claimed and put into lost property, and
Well,
they get in the way. Every group wants to leave a trailer there, and the problem is what's happening is we have 1,400 events up there, and it starts turning into, we just can't do it. I mean, we were up there mowing lawns, us 3 were mowing lawns, and on the soccer side, I had to mow around people's trailers that they just left up there, and I was a little irritated because it was like, I gotta mow a lawn here, and somebody just parked a trailer, it's not ours, and it's, I don't want the liability or responsibility for it. That's just all there is to it.
okay.
And I had totally forgot about the trailer, to be honest with you. I had totally spaced that off on this one.
Well, I believe I think I talked to you about that.
Yeah,
I did last year, and we cleared it for last year, but it was be addressed.
And said
correct?
that we'd talk about it, so
Yep.
now we've talked about it.
Correct.
Okay. The only other thing, and maybe it's just me, but number 11 talks about alcohol. Do you have a beer booth?
No.
Okay, and that's, I mean, we're talking about junior rodeo, and we got a line in here for alcohol, and I just,
We would definitely check IDs. We would definitely.
It didn't fit.
We would definitely check IDs.
For me.
I caught that this morning too.
And we can
We're not
pull
serving
that out. We can
alcohol.
pull that out. We try to keep that in some of our, like, some of the rodeos, the high school and the junior high rodeos have a strict, like, we have to cut that out on their things. With some of our more standard contracts, we're gonna try to run concessions, right? And some of those things, concessions and alcohol kind of go hand in hand. So it's something that we could easily pull out of there. We just left that in there because it's relatively standard. It's not one of those ones that mandates it, but we definitely can pull it out. I mean,
Well, just, it didn't fit with
sure.
junior rodeo to me.
So we will.
Oh.
So the 2 changes that we will make, the horse stalls and then remove the alcohol.
Yeah.
And that suits for you guys. Okay.
So, I'm good. So, Mr. Chair, make a motion that we approve the contract as presented with the changes to the horse stalls and removing the alcohol. So I guess I'm not going to approve the contract as presented. I'm going to approve the contract with the following changes.
Okay.
How's that?
All right, thank you. We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for hearing us.
All right, and the final contract we have is just the changes to the Pocatello Downs contract that you guys had made last week.
Yep.
So this is just reflects the changes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Pocatello Downs contract as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously.
That's all I have.
Hey,
Go,
thank
Buck
you.
Dash out.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right,
It's all my
Chase.
favorite shows. I love it. All right. All right, all right, all right. Now we got some technical stuff going on. See this?
Kind of
It's not just like foundations. This is cool.
okay.
Pretty sure that makes.
Name is Chase Clark, title Bannock County Building Official.
Cool. All right.
Okay, so I bring to you a proposed policy because I need your help, is what it comes down to. For those of you that are familiar with frost-protected shallow foundations, they can be an easy thing to do if people know how to apply them. The problem in our area is we don't have a lot of knowledge or know-how on these, and they can become very complicated fairly quickly. This has been a source of pain for lots of building officials, not just in our jurisdiction, but across Idaho. And one of the solutions has been the county or the city has just struck out this code altogether. And I'm not there yet, but I think some clarification and bringing something like a policy to the forefront that I can say, hey, look, this is something that the commission is going to support me on, and you know, this is the way it has to be done. A lot of this is clarification of existing codes and standards. I'm proposing technical change where in that first paragraph it says both ASCE 4.2 and 4.3, when normally that wouldn't be the case when designing these, and that is for ease of application. And so it can get really in depth here, and we can go through all of it if you'd like. That's why I didn't know how much time to, you know, spend this for. I mean, we could be an hour on this if you want, but that's essentially what it comes down to.
I'll just let's do basic. What do you need to be able to do your job and protect the people, the builder and the future homeowner?
Yep, and I think that's exactly why I came through and wrote it all out the way that I did, because these can be very, very complicated, and what I see happening is either there's a builder that isn't as familiar, or they don't know, or they don't, you know, the code will only list so many things, and once you get into the engineering aspects of this, it can really go downhill quick, unless you have an engineer. And then, of course, requiring an engineer then is a huge cost to a homeowner. And so this is attempting to pull those costs, control those, help the homeowners and builders to that's why there's an image on the front here too, is because that kind of puts it all into perspective. And code is wonderful, but it likes to chop things up into little bits and pieces and spread it over pages and pages and pages. And this puts it all together in one document. And so it's basically saying, look, there's multiple items you have to apply and be responsible for, and these are it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Frost protected shallow foundations is kind of a rage right now. There's a lot of them that are getting built, and we're kind of one of the only areas that's and so it causes a lot of issues because people want to come in here and build these, either commercial structures, houses. I mean, they're very popular. When you started doing this, did you have input from builders, engineers, that kind of stuff? And how
I'm glad
did you go about
yeah,
doing that?
That's one thing I didn't mention. So I did reach out to a lot of our engineers, Frost Engineering, Matt Tuvey, I don't know if he has that company. Mark Strong. So definitely, I've had lots of input from our engineers.
Okay.
They've actually told me that they see a large percentage of these fail, which is another issue, but that's also due to the incorrect application of them. If you do them properly, they work and they're great, and it's a great way to do things, but that's what the issue is that we just don't have, the ability in one document to say, this is the requirement, and then it makes it much, much more easy, or it's supposed to, so.
Okay. I had, just for disclosure, I'd actually had a discussion with Matt Tubby, who is a relation on this specifically, and this is something that, when I have that engineer tell me that this is smart, I should probably listen to him, so just from my perspective. But it is something that I've seen this come up a lot, so.
Yeah. And actually, there are, from each engineer, there are things in here from those engineers so this isn't just my writing, this is from the engineers in our area also. There's wording in here from them, so.
Good.
Real quickly, Commissioner, one item of clarification. ASCE is the American Society of Civil Engineers.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to that particular document, it gives you controlled information about how to proceed and do this. The issue is that you have to build these on a free draining soil.
Yeah.
So if you're in someplace that's just granular and has great flow, you don't have an issue. But where we typically are always building in clays, we have no ability for things to drain. So on the graphic that you have on the first page,
Mm-hmm.
you can see the granular fill underneath the thickened edge of the concrete. And that is the technical difficult aspect about how do you get that trench and how do you get that gravel placed in that trench and backfilled and compacted properly. By the time you go through that, you're almost spending the same amount of money in dollars that you would to just do a traditional footing and foundation. But to make sure that the county is protected, Chase has gone to the effort to make sure that, as he stated, all of the parts and pieces that are scattered throughout the code are brought into a clear policy that builders know this is what you have to conform to. Oh, if you have questions, take it to an engineer, get it engineered. But we wanted to make sure that you were aware, and I had conversation with Chase that any policy that we propose needs to be reviewed by the commission prior to any acceptance. So that's why we are here, and wanted to make sure that you're clear about the reasons why. And it has really more to do with the fact that our soils don't drain. And to make this work, it's fairly complicated to make sure that you get the base done properly.
So my question, and I appreciate all your work on this, Chase, is how do we enforce this, or how do we regulate?
Yeah, and that's been part of the issue too, is because it's so complicated, that's what the document is meant to do, is to say, hey, this is our stance. If you do it per this guideline, then you're golden. So this basically consolidates and explains it better, and graphically also, so that basically I could hand this off and say, look, you sign that, attach it to your permit, and I know that that's what you're going to do, type of thing. Instead of them having to go through, look up all the codes, somehow obtain a copy of the ASCE for frost protected shallow foundations, read through that, understand all the jargon and all that. So that's the purpose of the policy, is to simplify it and to basically explain to people, hey, in Bannock County, we have special, soils that, make these very difficult. So just as a heads up, this is the right way to do it.
So let me rephrase the question. If I'm the homeowner, how do I, because you said, Mr. Tubby said that a lot of these fail because they're done incorrectly.
Yep.
How are we ensuring that, or helping protect that homeowner? If this is our requirement, how are we helping protect that homeowner?
So along with this, what we'll be doing for these specific types of foundations is we'll be doing 2 inspections.
Okay.
Normally you would only do 1 for this, but with that additional granular fill, we would need to actually go in and make sure they're getting to the depths they need to get to. And so we do 2 inspections for traditional foundations, so it's not a big step to do 2 for these 2, especially when the permit fees aren't changed based on that. And so we would be doing 2 inspections to ensure that these were.
So the contractor would call you up and say, Chase, I'm gonna be doing phase 1 of this, the gravel, next week, and you come out on Tuesday and check it?
Yes.
And then you go out and say yes, and then he's free to pour after that?
Absolutely, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But when they come and ask for the permit, do they usually have their plans with them? Or?
And that's
the first stage, right? You'd be telling them when they brought the plans in.
Yes, yes.
This is our requirements.
Yeah.
Well,
So
and
that they would know before they've done anything else.
Yeah, yeah.
Their foundation call-outs on their plans, they would have to show
yes,
what they're doing to conform to this per the structure that's needed.
Yep.
So you want some technical language?
Yeah.
You're already over my head, Hal, just being honest here.
So if you go to the graphic on the right-hand side at the very bottom, compact with vibratory plate and maximum 8-inch lifts. That's 8-inch lifts loose. I believe that we need to clarify a couple of items in this and work with the engineers, but there should be a note as well as a requirement for special inspection by a certified inspector that can verify the compaction of 95% of a maximum dry density of a modified Proctor, ASTM 698, okay? Those notes need to be placed on there, and when they start to see the requirements of what it takes to get a subsurface foundation relative to this foundation, this thickened edge, it'll cause them to pause and think about whether or not it's really worth their time and their effort, to be quite honest. And it's not that we're trying to tell them that it's a deterrent, but to be able to comply with ASCE 4.2, this is what's compiled, okay? Most people that come in with a shallow foundation look at everything from the bottom of the concrete up. They don't look at anything below that because they don't pay attention to the requirements of the soils classification that we have. And as soon as that starts to play into it, it changes everything. I mean, the labor factor, the materials, everything that goes into doing this correctly, it's almost probably.
And a lot of these that you'd run into, that the reason you're going to do this is it can actually be a time saver if you're doing a large project. If you're doing something big, where you're doing a box store, where they're going to come in and they're going to dig the foundation and the gravel, and they're going to do it almost in, as they're doing it. But those guys are going to have stamped engineering plans, and they'll probably actually have their engineer on site for that. So they'll help inspect. So it makes Chase's job, if it's ever, we had something like that in the county, that's pretty simple. But this does help for the average homeowner to understand you can't just go dig a hole and pour some concrete and call it good.
And that's just my question is, if we're going to do something like this, which I'm in support of, I just want to make sure that we're not putting together something that, number one, we can't enforce, or number two, adds unnecessary burden to the homeowner or to the builder for the process.
Right.
There is one building in Pocatello that was built similar to this years ago, and it currently was remodeled. It's on the corner of Alameda and Jefferson, just up from, I think it's Dion Drive.
Okay.
And they just painted the bricks, etc. That building was built on what was referred to back in the day as a floating foundation, which is very similar to what this was. Most people don't build this way because they go to time and true tested footing and foundation. But this is an option in the code, but unless somebody's paying attention to the subtleties of the code, they miss the bottom part.
Okay. Very good. So what do we need? What do you need from us?
There's 2 notes that I would like to go have added relative to inspection and expand the notes of compaction.
Okay.
And then beyond that, put it before you for a
Approval.
policy acceptance.
Yeah, like I said, I'm good with it, and if you need some house cleaning, just bring it back to us at the convenience.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Braden's over there with a blank look on his face.
I need to, Hal, I need to come out and, you and Chase, just a chance for us to sit down on a fee
issue that we ran into. We talked about it a lot, and I think I came up with a way how to fix it, but I'd like to come out and just talk to you guys if you guys have maybe some time. Are you guys going to be in the office tomorrow?
Yep.
Why don't I come out tomorrow and we'll sit down, and I think it's a real not even that, half a sentence that would fix some problems that we're running into.
Okay, morning is best.
Cool. All right, I'll see you in the morning.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We will have the mileage discussion today. The mileage discussion, she won't be here.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
She did not get the invite. Will you get the one?
She got it.
Yes.
Yeah. Who's that? Oh, okay. All right, that's fine.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we need to have an executive session.
Why you don't just board normal.
Go straight into executive.
What?
This is to talk about our lawyer.
Lawyer contract.
Oh,
Yeah, that was, I was wondering the same question. I saw that on there.
I couldn't remember what it was.
with it, but I believe, yeah, it's to talk about a contract. We can go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we enter into executive session under Idaho Code 74-2061B to consider and evaluate issues of personnel.
Commissioner Hess,
Yes.
Commissioner Moser.
Yes.
Commissioner